Welcome back to the another video. That is the part 2 of the React Saga series. In this video, we'll be discussing about the React hooks and the lifecycle method in class-based component plus the hooks in functional component. So that we'll be able to understand a bit more about the basic understanding of the React. Since for React Saga, we need to use some of the hooks for connecting it with the reducer. So basically for that we will be requiring hooks and also some of the lifecycle method. So just to give you a context, what we'll be doing is we'll be sort of making two component. One is the class-based component, and we have already made like created a class-based component, a functional component. We'll be integrating the hooks into it right now. Just to give you a basic context about the code, where you can find the code and all those stuff. So this is the article, that is the part 2. Part 1 is I have already shared in the video description of the prior video, and in this video also you'll be getting all the links in the description itself. So here in this link, when you'll come, so you can see all the parts or the link of all the parts, right? So currently I'm like currently shooting the part 2. So here till here, and also in the textual form I have just written the part 2. So here I've added all the parts and links, right? Once the part 3 and part 4 would be ready, in which we'll be making like connecting the Redux store with the React application, and then the part 4 where we'll be finally working with the React Saga. I'll be sharing the link and all those stuff in this video. Just keep in this basically in this article, plus wherever possible I'll share the links. And yeah, that's a bit about the context on which we will be running this particular video, right? Just to start, the ReactJS lifecycle method. So basically ReactJS has a lifecycle in which there is the major, what I'll say, the building block of React is the component, right? So all the component has some sort of lifecycle method, right? In the class-based component, these are few of them, like component did mount, component will mount, shall component mount, sorry, should component mount, and then component will receive props and all those stuff, right? These things, these particular lifecycle method are not readily available in the functional component. So they have obviously they have some alternate way of doing those stuff. So we have that thing ready with us. We'll be creating two methods. Not all the method we won't be discussing, because this tutorial mainly about React Saga, not about React, right? So we'll be just discussing about the two lifecycle method in class based component, and similar thing we'll be doing in the functional component. So let's start with the class based component. I've already written the code. I'll just go through the code, because there's no point of going through the code, writing the code while typing it, right? So here in the class based component, which we have already created in part 1, what we will do more is we'll sort of create a state, that is using this dot state method. This dot state that is readily like an object readily available throughout our component. In that I have created a key name, that is this is the class, right? Just any particular value to my name variable. In component did mount, what happens whenever the component is mounted into the HTML or into the DOM, at that point this particular lifecycle method is being triggered, right? So whatever you want to do, maybe any API call, right, or maybe any, what will say, any action you want to perform, you can perform in this particular section, which will only trigger once the component is mounted, and for only one time, not twice, thrice, just once it will run, right? Whatever action you will be doing it, writing inside it, will be triggered only once, correct? Now here what I've done, I've used the set state method of the class, like for updating the state, and I've updated the name to this dot update inside the component did mount. So this just to show you that yeah, it is getting updated. So here, instead of hi, I am a class based component, what I'll do is I'll simply print whatever is in the name variable in my state, and in my main bootstrap code I'll see, okay, so here I'll just uncomment the class based component just to embed or just to show it in the UI, right? So what I'll do, I've just saved it. My application is auto triggered. What I'll do, I'll open this tab, and here I'll write localhost 3000, and it is saying this is updated inside the component did mount, right? So this is something which we have done inside our component did mount section, right? So just to maybe, this is not very good practice, but I'll just to show you that this is happening inside this. What I'll do, I'll put a timeout of 2000 seconds and update my set state inside the set timeout, right? Now if we'll come back and refresh our component, now this is the main key, and after 2 seconds it is updated to, this is updated inside component did mount. So we can see that this is triggered once, and for that it is doing it job, right? Now this component will mount is another lifecycle method which generally is sort of triggered once your component is unmounted from the DOM, right? So whenever, suppose you have two components, you have sort of opened the second component instead of first component, at that point the first component would be unmounted and the second component or the second route would be loaded. At that time, if suppose you want to make some API call, some Google Analytics call, or maybe you want to clear some event listeners which you have created while in component inbound or in some of the action, that stuff you can do inside this component did unmount, right? So this is sort of a lifecycle method. Here we have other lifecycle method as well. If suppose you'll type component did unmount, right, and there is a component did will receive from, this is sort of a deprecated one, but yeah, these were available earlier, and there are other as well, just you can check them, but mainly we use these only, right? But yeah, so similar thing we'll be doing in the functional based component. So just try to put your head around that there is a class based component. Class based component has some sort of lifecycle method that is triggered once your component is loaded into the UI, and this component did mount is only triggered once at the time of mounting, and this component will run once your component is unmounted from the UI, right? Now generally people use functional component, right? So in functional component, what we do, we have the hooks, that is use state and use effect. Generally use effect is the one which is used to trigger these lifecycle methods, right? So we will be writing the similar lifecycle method in function based component, right? So first what we'll do is we'll sort of uncomment my class based component and comment my class based component and uncomment the functional component, and here also I'll sort of showcase the same, right? If I'll come back to my functional component, and if I'll open my class based component in the parallel, just to show you what exactly is happening. So here I've used the use state hook, which is basically used for creating the state in the functional component, similar to this dot state, right? In this first variable is the name of the state, name of that particular state, and the second one is the function that we used to trigger or to update the value of that particular state, right? So we have created a name variable, that is the state, and set name is the function. Okay, now we are using another hook method, that is use effect. Now what use effect does is, it is basically a hook which we use to sort of replicate some of the lifecycle method, right? So basically how it runs is, there is this array which you can see, this is called dependency array, right? If suppose you put name of like any name, like any variable, props variable, right? And once that particular value of that particular prop variable is updated, this particular anything written inside that particular use effect is triggered, right? We can have couple of there is no restriction in the number of use effect. If suppose you want to write another use effect based on some other state variable, maybe currently we have just one state variable, let's suppose we have another state variable as maybe class, right? So we have set class. Okay, now class is the reserved keyword, so maybe we can put as class name maybe. Okay, and we put A, correct? Now if suppose we want to check if any value is updated in the name or class name, right, then something should happen. Maybe some API call should happen or something should happen, right? In that case, we can put that particular variable in the dependency array, and once that, make sure that if in case that particular variable is changing, in that case you have to trigger the that particular use effect, right? Just we don't need it, so for now we'll be removing it. Now how the component did mount is triggered using this. Okay, so if in case we have nothing in this dependency array, in that specific case, that particular use effect behaves just like a component did mount. So whenever that particular component is mounted in the UI or in the DOM, at that point this particular any action written inside this use effect would be triggered, and that will happen just only for one time whenever the component is mounted, and like for any subsequent props update it won't be triggered. Okay, that is just a component did mount replica in the functional based component, right? Now so here you can see there is this return statement, right? This return statement is mainly the sort of a component will unmount lifecycle method, which basically runs once the particular component is unmounted. So if any any API call which you want to make, or maybe any timer which you want to clear, or maybe any event listener which you want to clear from the DOM, in that case you can sort of remove that in this return statement. So that is something which you should be aware about before implementing the Redux Saga. So if in case I'll just save this project and I'll sort of refresh it again, so I put a timeout there. So see, after 1000 second, if I'll increase it to maybe 4000 second, so that means that after 4000 second, this value, this set name currently would be this is class, and after 4000 second it will be updated to this is update inside whatever I've written. Sorry for the bad English, I'll correct it. This is updated inside the component did mount. Okay, so if I'll refresh it again, then hello, and after 4 seconds it will be updated to this is updated inside component did mount. So that is somehow we generally use the lifecycle method in the hooks, using the hooks. And on the right you can see these are the normal lifecycle method which React provide us in a particular class based component. I hope this particular part is clear with you. Now what we'll do in the next video is sort of integrate the Redux store action, basic action, node async action with the our particular React application. And once we are through with the basic setup, we'll sort of move towards the React Saga, because unless until you are aware about how you can create a component and all those stuff, the React Saga won't make much sense, right? Plus, if you have any particular doubt till now, you can definitely mention that in comment, and in any specific video which you want me to make, I'll sort of make that as well. And all the obviously all the description, or all the tags, links, everything would be available in the description. So just check out the description if you want to jump to any specific part. Okay, so I think thanks for your time and have a great day.